What is going on, guys? The Inside the Booth podcast, and today we're talking about the New York Giants preview against the San Francisco 49ers. The Giants are 2-6, and they're taking on a 49ers team. We're going to talk about it all, but before we do that, leave a like, subscribe to the channel on the road to 400 subscribers, and let's get into it. So, if you guys did not watch the last video of Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, and if they should stay or not, definitely tune into that one, then come back to this one. But we have a lot to talk about, right? This is a Giants team that is kind of just, seeing what the young guys have in store, right? What does Jackson Dart have without a Cam Skattebo, without a Malik Nabers? We've already seen what he is without a Malik Nabers. He's still good, and it doesn't matter who is playing wide receiver. Jackson Dart has still shown that he can move the football down the field and put up points for the Giants, right? So this is a 49ers team. Robert Saleh, very good defensive coordinator for them. So this is another big test for Jackson Dart. But I'm not really too worried because the two starts that, were maybe going to be a concern were the Eagles' defense, even though they had a little bit of banged up injuries with no Jalen Carter or any of that. And then the Broncos game. Jackson Dart played well in both of those, right? So the big question for this week is, how does he play this week against a 49ers team that has a lot of weapons, right? CMC, George Kittle, Juwan Jennings has stepped up in a big way. And, the question for the 49ers is who is going to start at quarterback. Is it going to be Mac Jones? Is it going to be Brock Purdy? Because Brock Purdy has been injured all year, banged up. It's his toe injury or something else like that. So I still think this Giants team can make this a close game because of our defense. Because our defense, they do have a lot of injuries, right? But I still think the defensive front can maybe help out, against CMC, right? Because CMC is going to get the ball at least 20 times. He's going to be getting receptions. They're going to find different ways to get him open. But for the Giants, they do have a lot of injuries. Like Javon Holland, he was limited. Paulson Adebo, his knee. Cordell Flott, I believe, had a concussion. And a lot of injuries. They've had Micah McFadden out the entire year. So it's going to be a big test for guys like Deonte Banks, Andrew Phillips, and who was it, Corey Black as well at cornerback. And I'm not really too confident in that cornerback room outside of really Andrew Phillips, but he's a slot guy, so you really can't count that. So it's a big game for Deonte Banks, and that's whoever he is guarding, because I'm not sure if Ricky Pearsall is playing this week, because every single week he hasn't really played. So it's going to be very interesting in that case of how this cornerback room does, against this 49ers offense. That, say what you want, they're still a good team, right? I still view the 49ers as a good football team, but it's really how they play, and they've had injuries up and down the season. It's kind of like their last season, but they're also they're constantly banged up. And then they have a Rams team that's good in their division, right? The Seahawks have at least surprised me. I didn't expect Sam Darnold to go from a good scheme with Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings to then the Seahawks and then play good, right? JSN has been phenomenal for them, so that NFC West is tight. So the 49ers do need to win this week against the Giants. But you know what? I think the way that the Giants win this game this week is causing turnovers. Truly, they need to cause a lot of turnovers and get more sacks to the quarterback. They know it's going to be very tough for the secondary against whoever is their wide receiver, or George Kittle, or just CMC in general, because it's not a good team against the run. We've seen last week, Saquon Barkley, right, a 65-yard touchdown the first time he touches the football, because Shane Bowen doesn't have, the B gap, in place, right? So Shane Bowen is, has another tough task for this week. Not only that he's getting pressured by the media and how this defense is better on paper, but the fact that, now that he has a few injuries to his defense, it's how they adjust. And, Deonte Banks has not been good this season. I know some people are still, can this guy still play? Is he a trade candidate at the trade deadline? So we'll see how that goes. But regardless, Deonte Banks, this is his game. That if he wants to stay a New York Football Giant, he's got to show that he could guard a Jawan Jennings. He can guard, a George Kittle if he has to. Not really George Kittle, but Ricky Pearsall or, whoever is playing wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, right? And for Brian Daboll, he's just got to, keep this team competitive throughout the rest of this season, because at 2-6, you're not making the playoffs, right? You're not winning out. And the Eagles have the division pretty much locked up because the Commanders aren't locked in. Dallas isn't locked in. If you want to talk about another defense that has been just as bad as the New York Giants, it's the Dallas Cowboys. Matty Eberflus allows quarterbacks to just have an absolute field day against them. And, the Cowboys play on Monday, Eagles have the bye week, and then the Seahawks take on the Washington Commanders. So, the biggest thing that frustrates me is the record that the Giants have. A lot of avoidable losses. I mean, you can even look at the Broncos one not last week, the week before. So, I mean, that's just what's frustrating as a Giants fan, that they could probably be, maybe a 3-5 or 4-4 football team through the first 8 weeks. I'd probably lean toward just another win at least. I mean, I feel like every single preview podcast I talk about is they could have won this game. They could have won, the Cowboys game. They could have won the Broncos game, right? So, and I know a lot of people say, well, it's a coaching issue and all that. That is true, right? A lot of this does come on the coaching, and that's why a lot of people, not myself, but a lot of people want Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen fired because they keep making the same, the same mistakes. But at the end of the day, this is year one of Jackson Dart, and it seems to me that Brian Daboll and Mike Kafka have Jackson Dart in a good way of developing him. And I do think they'll address wide receiver in the draft, offensive line. I think primarily it'll be more of an offensive draft, I think, in my opinion. I mean, you look at last year's draft, they take Abdul Carter with a high pick at number 3. I think he's looked great. They take Jackson Dart, Darius Alexander. So a bunch of guys that they take. But we'll see how this game goes. Enjoy it. The thing that we're watching out for is Jackson Dart, and really Jackson Dart only, because he is really the main guy. No Cam Scatterbo, he's out for the season. No Malik Neighbors, no Cordell Flott, no Javon Holland, I believe. No Paulson Adebo. So we'll see how the Giants do. I mean, listen, if there's one thing that we can look forward to, is the pass rush and Jackson Dart. We got to see more out of, Dexter Lawrence, obviously. Maybe he can get a big game. Maybe they start lining up where he's supposed to be at nose tackle and not in other positions. We're going to get double teamed, but, that's really what I got for this pod. I apologize for, getting it out late, right? This is Sunday morning that I'm recording this. So that's on me. And, I got a lot of videos that I've been constructing, and if you guys know something about this channel, is that sometimes I wait a few days for videos to come out instead of 3 in a row. So, but listen, man, we're on the road to 400 subscribers. I appreciate you guys all. I appreciate everything you guys have done for this channel. We're still growing, still torn if I'm changing the name to Inside New York Sports Podcast. So, be on the lookout. Don't leave us. Don't unfollow us. It's the same content. I just feel like a different name, a different regime. Not really different. No, not a different regime. Just a different direction, I'd say. It's always going to be me. I've always tried to look for a partner to do videos. So, I mean, if you guys ever, want to do a video with me, I'll try to get you guys on. I know I've gotten a few of my buddies on for videos. So, I mean, that might, continue. But anyways, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Let's go Giants. Let's win a fucking football game. Let's do this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully we upset the 49ers.